Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Ashley and Bella from hard rock band Plush.
Hello, thanks for having us.
I am so broken. My wounds are open for the world to see. I am unclean. I'm dirty. I'm unworthy. No, no. Turning fires burning.
I wanted to dig into some of your history. What got you into music, and what age did you start playing your instrument? And Bella, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I started playing guitar when I was 5. So my dad owns a music store, so I grew up just kind of always around it, and he plays guitar too. So I kind of just grew up always around music. But the first band that really kind of blew me away, made me want to start playing was Kiss. So definitely because of I mean the music, but also like the whole image of it all just kind of blew my mind when I was 4 or 5 years old. So yeah, I've been playing since.
Okay, Ashley?
So I started playing bass at age 11, but prior to that, I had played guitar for a while. I was in a local music program, and my instructor at the time uh, basically kind of was like, "Hey, we need a bass player for a song. Do you have a bass at home?" And I was like, Probably," because my dad is a musician, and he's been in a band with Mike Starr from Alice in Chains, and he's also jammed with Ace Frehley and other things like that. But yeah, so I ended up having a bass at home, and it was Ramones versus the Clash. That was a show that we were doing, and they put me on Death or Glory by the Clash, and then I kept playing bass, and that's kind of how this all happened for me.
Can you tell me some of your musical influences over the years?
Yeah, so it started with Kiss, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, and then as I got a little older, I kind of got into the more shreddier type stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff from the hair metal era, the guitar playing is just ridiculous. So Nuno Bettencourt, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen, just all those guys just um definitely, each one of, their records, really just kinda resonated with me, and it definitely kind of motivated me to just always, be learning something new on guitar.
I actually saw a couple of your videos playing Joe Satriani and Nuno. Another good solo by Nuno was, "Stop the World" from that same album.
Yes! Oh my gosh, it kills me, the B-side of that record is so underrated. I feel Three Sides in general is, kinda underrated, but people, will, know, Warheads or Cupid's Dead, but it's Stop the World and all the other good stuff on the second side of that record is so worth checking out.
Okay, Ashley?
Over the years, I don't know. I'm really influenced by for bass players, especially Bootsy Collins, Galen Dorsey from David Bowie's band, Paul McCartney, Mike Inez, Robert DeLeo, artists in general that I just like. I love Dua Lipa and Bruno Mars and Alice in Chains.
Can you tell me about how the band actually formed? How you got into the band?
Yeah, so the band started, I want to say early 2020. It started with Brooke and Mariah jamming. I believe they had played at the same venue before, so they kind of had mutual contacts. So they got in touch and started jamming, and then Ashley and Brooke had actually been friends going all the way back to middle school when they were in at the same music school together. So the three of them all started collaborating and jamming together, and then they put out an ad looking for a female guitar player from the East Coast. So I came across that on Instagram actually because Lizzie Hale had shared it. And so I reached out right away, just kind of introducing myself. And the rest of the band's from New York, but I'm from Maine. So I figured I'd just kind of reach out just to see what happens, you know? But I ended up, hitting it off great with everyone. And we started jamming a couple weeks after that. And since then, it's really just been this crazy ride. I don't think any of us were expecting this for sure.
Now, did you, like, audition, or did you, um was it, like, audition process or something like that?
Yeah, since it was kinda like they had, 3 members locked down and they're on this hunt for a while looking for a guitar player, they had asked me to send in, like, an audition video. And then on top of that, like you mentioned, I used to do a bunch of, like, videos on my Instagram and YouTube and stuff of just guitar solos, so they were all checking that out too. So it was, talking to them, that audition video, and then you can only kind of tell so much from a video, So once we started jamming together, it's kind of all just seeing if there was chemistry and seeing how well we clicked in person. And thankfully there was. Like we really, from like the first few songs we played, everything just kind of felt like it locked in really.
Okay. Ashley?
So Brooke actually, our drummer Brooke was actually in the same music program that I was in, and we had met through that. And when I saw her, I was just like, "Oh wow, she's such a killer drummer." And a couple years had passed, and her and Mariah had started putting together what was going to be Plush. They started jamming together, and they were looking for a bassist. And that's when Brooke called me up and was like, "Hey, you want to come jam with us?" And I was like, "Sure." You have no idea what you're getting into when something's in such early stages. So I went and I jammed with them, and the chemistry was just great. Everything just kind of vibed and clicked well. So then management put out an advertisement looking for a female guitar player, and Lizzie Hale shared it, and that's how we got the amazing Bella Perron.
Do you know how they came up with the name for the band Plush?
Honestly, we had this long list of ideas just going, and I hope I never have to see that list again because some of the names that I personally suggested, I think of and I cringe.
Oh, me too. Me too.
It was an interesting one for sure, but Plush was just kind of thrown out there by I think someone in management, and we all kind of just molded over, and it stuck eventually.
You know that the shit is so wrong. You pull me in every direction. I think you just need the attention. Oh, it's making me sick. I can't take this anymore. Maybe you need someone else. Maybe you could go to hell. You took my heart, but you can't have it. You can't have my soul. And maybe I'd be better off alone.
I wanted to talk about a couple of your songs. Haint, it came out February 2021. I wanted to ask you, Ashley, is that like a fun song for you to play? Being there's Metallica kind of riffing in that song. Is that a fun song for you to play on bass?
I do enjoy playing that song on bass. It's fun to really get into it, especially live when you can feel the audience's energy and kind of just feed off that. I always think of it as kind of a tennis match where you're just throwing something back and forth and building off of each other.
And the other song is Better Off Alone. It was released January 2022. Bella, I wanted to ask you a question about that. Um, I love during the bridge where you're just strumming the chords and there's like lots of chorus and reverb in there. And it just like adds a lot to that part of the song. I mean, you could have done a lot of different things, like even like maybe even some leads during that I could hear. But I'm just wondering if sometimes you have to let the song breathe a little bit.
Definitely. Well, thank you, first of all. But definitely one of the biggest things I learned from the process of recording the album is you really have to play for the song. And especially something like that, where, something where you want to have dynamics in it. And for, like, the last chorus to really have that effect, you do have to pull back a lot, because if you're always adding leads or everything's always high gain, you kind of lose the thrill of it, so yeah, it was definitely at some points in the studio it was challenging, opting to go for, just kind of strumming a chord instead of like arpeggios or legato or all this stuff, um, but I love how it came out, and I love to, especially now that we've been doing it live since we released it as a single, like feeling the push and pull with the energy in that song for sure, and how, like I mentioned, by pulling stuff back in the bridge and going for, a clean tone with chorus and reverb, then switching back into that high gain and having, the push of that last chorus, you can really feel all the dynamics of that song.
You've been on tour with Evanescence, Hailstorm, Slash and Miles Kennedy, and Wolfgang Van Halen. Was there stuff you've learned since you've been on tour with them that, like, they passed on to you guys?
Definitely. I feel like every tour we learn something new, And a lot of that just comes from observing the people you're working with, whether it's them on stage, but also how their whole crew works behind the scenes. Like something that really blew me away, in particular on the Slash tour, was just how tight knit their crew is and how, I mean, since they've all been doing it for so long, everything's like clockwork for them. Um, so it's definitely inspiring to see or to getting to talk to these people who've been in the industry for so long and are just you can tell just from talking it's like this overall just like wiseness from being around it for so long. But of course too, musically watching all these bands live or like the Evanescence tour where it's watching from an arena, it's super inspiring and we definitely learned a lot.
Ashley, you got anything to add to that?
I completely agree with what Bella was saying. I remember in particular we had this conversation with Lizzie Hale on the Hailstorm and Evanescence tour, and we were talking about how we're viewed as women in a genre such as rock, and it's refreshing to hear from other women, strong women like Amy Lee and Lizzie Hale, kind of just, that we all go through similar experiences and that we have a shared perspective, and it's kind of this sisterhood that you share as a woman in rock.
What do you guys got planned for 2022?
Yeah, in a couple weeks, we're going out on tour with Seven Dust for the second leg of their Animosity tour. So we're all really excited for that. We'll be with them for about a month. And then at the end of that tour, we're playing Welcome to Rockville and Daytona Beach, which we're stoked to be a part of.
Do you have any new music or new videos that's gonna be released sometime in the future?
Nothing planned yet, but who knows what is to come in the future. Every day is ever changing.
How can we get a hold of you? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter?
Oh, okay. Our Instagram is Plush Rocks. Facebook is Plush Official. And our website is plushrocks.net.
Okay. Ashley, do you have anything else?
I think that covers it. I'm really bad at remembering the handles and stuff, so whenever I'm like, is it official or rocks or .net, .gov? It can't be .gov.
That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Thank you so much for having us. And I just want to say, I mean, thank you for your support and all the listeners' support. We couldn't do this without you guys. And for it's really just been so amazing to be a part of this ride that's taken off so fast, and we couldn't do it without, the people that love the music.
Yes, truly. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you so much to everyone who has tuned in.